You are listening to the Fit Figure Formula podcast. I help female perfectionists beat self-sabotage and lose the weight for good using the Fit Figure Formula coaching program. I'm your host, Stephanie Riles, registered dietitian, personal trainer, and mindset transformation coach. If you've been struggling with all or nothing thinking, negative self-talk, or self-sabotage, this is the podcast for you. Learn how to get consistent and become the best version of yourself from the inside out. So let's get started. All right. Hey, ladies, it's Coach Steph, and I am back with another episode. We have a very special episode today. So I am going to be interviewing Sade Kelly, time management coach, and we're going to be talking about how you can manage your work, your life, and your health all at the same time without feeling overwhelmed. So if you have questions about time management, if you're hearing yourself say, I don't have time, or where would I find the time, or you feel very overwhelmed with your work, your life, and trying to manage your health, this is the live for you. Sade, welcome to the Fit Figure Formula.
Me. I'm excited to be here.
Tell us more about how you work with clients, who you work with, and more about yourself.
All right. Hi, everyone. Like Stephanie said, I'm Sade Kelly. I'm a time management coach. I help ambitious women manage their time so they can balance their work, their wellness, and their relationships in a peaceful way without stressing, without sacrificing their self-care. And I pride myself in being able to help my clients save at least 28 or more hours a week, as well as achieve their goals 6 times faster. And I wasn't always amazing at time management. I actually used to be someone who procrastinated. I used to be a perfectionist. And I always say I still feel like I'm recovering from those things a lot of the time because they don't always fully go away. But I used to be not the best with time. And I realized that I was doing a lot of things and I was doing a lot of things not so greatly. And I decided that I wanted to pour into one thing and start doing it better. So I actually started doing networking events that led me into starting to coach. And then from coaching, I realized I really have this niche of being able to help people get their lives together through managing and leveraging their time. And I started doing that back in 2019. And I've been doing it ever since. So now that's almost 5 years that I've been doing this full time. And I really love helping people just manage all of the things they think they can't manage, because I know what it feels like to believe you can't manage all of the things. So I'm excited to share some of my tips today in this episode.
Yay. I am very excited. All right. So my first question would be, how do you work with clients? Like, when you're working with high achieving women, they might feel like they are behind, or like, what is the true balance? How do you know when you have actually reached the goal?
That is such a great question. So I will tangibly, how I work with clients is I coach them, right? So I do coaching sessions. I have a membership, but then my bread and butter is my Overwhelmed to Organize coaching program, which is my 3-month container where I work with clients and help them go from overwhelmed to completely organized in all areas of their life or business and or work, depending on what their situation is. And one of the first things we cover, is I'm sure you're going to resonate with this because you're a mindset coach, is we cover clarity and awareness, because it is one of the biggest things hindering ambitious women. We tend to think we can do it all and we can have it all and we're amazing already. So how could we be any better? But at the end of the day, we all can get better and we can enhance our skills. And what I've noticed is many of the women that I work with, they're used to doing a lot because they're ambitious, but they're not used to doing things in a structured way. And a lot of times they're just running themselves ragged. They're getting to the end of the week and they're burnt out. They're putting in a lot of work and not necessarily seeing the results they want to see. And it's because they're lacking awareness around their structure of what they're trying to achieve and making sure what they're doing day to day aligns with that. So one of the first things we do is get clear on your productivity patterns, your energy levels, when the times you work best, the tasks you do best, the tasks you do a little bit longer than you should, the tasks that you're underutilizing in your life. We also really drill into their limiting beliefs. So what are the beliefs you have about yourself, but also the beliefs you have about time? Because one of the things I hear people say all the time is, I don't have enough time. I'm not disciplined. I'm not consistent. I'm a procrastinator. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but those are things they're identifying with. So they tend to be doing behaviors and getting the results of people who believe that's who they are. So a lot of the beginning work is around routines, habits, and mindset. After we have that drilled down, then we go into, all right, how can we get you consistent? How can we start making sure that you're showing up for yourself? And we do different techniques to build boundaries, to build up their consistency and make it where they're able to build habits. Not necessarily in 21 days. I always say that that's like the minimum amount of time people build habits, and most people need way more than 21 days. A lot of people need at least 66 to 90 days to make it a lifestyle change anytime they're building a habit. And it could take up to 254 days to really solidify a habit. So those are some things that I work with and teach clients. And the last part of my whole system that I teach clients is systems. So I'm working through, what is your scheduling system? How do you prioritize? How do you plan your day in a way that makes sense for you? And I'm using what we learned through clarity and awareness to make sure that everything is tailoring and it's specific to you. Because I think a lot of us can learn all the productivity hacks, but sometimes we don't know how to actually tangibly take what we learn and apply it to our lifestyle and then continuously do it and adapt it as needed.
I love that. I have some questions from Jennifer. Y'all better ask questions. Hey, Kathy, Jennifer, Denise, all of my either clients or former clients. Thank you guys for watching. Jennifer says, how do you prioritize or balance when everything is important?
So, Jennifer, that is a myth already. Right? So everything is not important right this second. That doesn't mean that what all the things on your long list isn't important. It just means that they're all not important right now. So one thing I always recommend for clients, I have a lot of different prioritization methods, but I want to, summarize it for this. I would always ask yourself, what is the needle moving task? So if you're looking at your whole entire list, what is the one thing that you can get done that's going to help you to be able to get the others done, or it's going to make your day smoother? That's like the easiest way to prioritize. What's that one thing that you can accomplish first in your day before all else? And then you let go of everything else. And I know when you hear that, you're probably like, you feel anxiety, you feel stress coming about, because you're like, what do you mean let go of everything else? But you can't do multiple things at the same time. So just start off with that one most important thing. That's how I would recommend prioritizing. Pick the top important and urgent thing and then go on from there. Another tip I'll give is look into the Eisenhower matrix. I have actually a free template that I could give to Stephanie. She can give to you guys. It's how to prioritize like a pro. And in this guide, I show you how to separate your tasks where you know what tasks are important and urgent, meaning they're tied to a certain time frame that you need to get it done. And they're also advantageous to your goals. They're important. They're things you want to get done. And how to identify what goals are or what tasks are not necessarily urgent, but they are important, so they can be scheduled in for later. And then what tasks are urgent, but they're not really important, so they could be delegated, they could be rescheduled for a later time, they can kind of be pushed off a bit. And then what tasks are you putting on your list that are not important and not urgent, so you don't need to be doing them at all? So I kind of just walked you through how the Eisenhower matrix works, and I recommend using that anytime you are trying to prioritize, because it helps you to compartmentalize each of the things you feel like you need to do. And another thing I'll give you lastly is kind of pull out of your mood and your feelings when you're trying to prioritize. Because sometimes, especially as entrepreneurs, something will come in our minds and all of a sudden we think it's the brand new idea, the thing that's going to take off. It's a thing you need to do right now. And it's all based off feelings and not based off facts in what you actually need to get done. So when you're trying to prioritize, try to catch yourself and remind yourself, this is how I'm feeling right now, but this might not be necessarily what I should do or what I plan to do. So let me follow my plan and not my mood.
Oh, I love that. So figuring out, how do I feel about this thing, and then what's actually urgent. I like the fact that you dissected what's urgent and important. Those two are not the same. So what's urgent and important, that is really good. So along those lines, what are some common mistakes that people make when they're trying to improve their time management? I know you just told her that like everything is not a priority, everything is not urgent right now. What are some more common mistakes that people make when they're trying to time manage?
So a lot that I've seen that clients have been come to me doing is having all these different spaces for what they need to get done. And it just makes you just so disorganized. I've seen clients have like 20 notebooks. I like different planners, Post-its. Oh, I see you looking
at I got a whole bunch of stuff over here, girl. It's hidden.
So the reason why I don't recommend having all those different spaces is you're scattered. all of your tasks are in different places, your projects are in different places, your brainstorming is in different places, all of the things are all around, and it's causing you to not be organized and have everything is succinct. And I recommend finding one tool that you can use for each of the things you're trying to do. So let's say you want to solidify one spot for all of your brain dumps, which are usually what people have for their to-do list, but I call them brain dumps because I think to-do lists are often unorganized and they're just kind of like everything that's on your mind, and there's a better way to go about your days. So let's say you have one spot for your brain dump and it's one notebook where you just put everything that's on your mind. And then let's say you use that same notebook every week, you go through your list and you highlight what's the priorities for each day. So you go through, this is important, urgent for Monday, this is important, urgent for Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera. And you're just thinking about the week or the next 2 weeks, or maybe even the month, depending on how you like to plan. Then you'll have a spot for how you're going to manage your tasks day to day. So you have one notebook catching everything so you don't miss anything and you don't distract yourself by all the things that come on in your head because you know where you're going to capture it. And then you have a spot where you are managing the task. So that can be a tool like Sunsama, which is what I like to use, or it can be a tool like Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, ClickUp. There's a bunch of different tools, and I don't want to overwhelm anyone with tools because that's another mistake I see people make is they want to join all the new tools, but they have no system or process behind the tools. So then they say the tools don't work. Oh, I tried to use that type of calendar, or I tried to use Motion, or I tried to use whatever new productivity tool and it didn't help me. And it's because they don't have any type of system or organization for how they're going to approach their days. Another mistake I see is people think they should just work off whatever schedule has been given to them. And I see this a lot with people who are going from corporate to entrepreneur. They're used to having someone give them a schedule, or they're used to just having things on their calendar, and they're not being proactive about how they're going about their days. So what ends up happening is their days just get filled with whatever needs and ever priorities people are giving to them, which feel like emergencies because someone's giving it to them, but they're not things they chose to do. And you want to make sure you're sitting down at some point during the week. I always have to say, have a meeting with yourself. And that's something I actually do with my membership. I have a membership called Goal Getters Group, and we meet every Sunday. We sit down all together and we go through this process of reflecting on how the past week went, and we plan our current weeks up, and we do it all together. And at the end, we reflect on like what we're excited about for the week, what we're scared about for the week. And it's just like a great place to have that environment to talk about those things because it helps you to stay motivated on your journey to your goals. But a lot of people don't sit down and plan their weeks. They don't sit down and become intentional and have that just quiet space. And it's hindering you. A lot of people think they could just go with the flow and things will fall into place. And for some, that did work up to a certain point. Like I mentioned, before I was good with time management, that kind of worked for me. And I saw some success, but it was not like as great as when I got really good at my time, because you realize when you're good with your time, you know how to prioritize, you're not procrastinating, you're just like taking action, you have much more freedom. A lot of times people think structure takes freedom away. It actually creates freedom because you can go ahead and have time for hobbies and fun and travel, whatever else you like to do. And you can do it guilt-free because you know where all the different things in your life are being placed.
That is exactly how I explain it as well. Like, you think that structure, you don't like structure, but it gives you so much more free time.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good. Okay. So what is your favorite time management hack or technique that you feel like most people overlook, or just your best technique for managing your time?
One I think actually that's overlooked is planning your time around your energy levels. That's something I don't think a lot of people do. Most people know they need to plan, and obviously I love planning, but planning around your energy is something I'm very big on. And that's something I think most people don't think about. So when I say plan around your energy, I like to think about the hardest tasks I need to get done today. I like to plan it when I'm high energy. So it might not necessarily be planned as the first thing of the day, which I know is a big productivity method. I think it's called Eat the Frog.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people say, oh, do the hardest thing that you need to get done for the day, do that first. I don't necessarily like doing that first because I don't always have my best energy early in the morning. I actually get my energy later in the morning / early afternoon. So I like to place my hardest task or the thing I think is going to take me the longest or take the most brain power during the times when I know I'm most energetic. And then the times where my energy dips lower, I like to do the easier things, the things that are like quick wins, things I need to just get done for the day that are a little simpler, like engaging on Instagram or posting the content, or maybe even doing interviews because I kind of just like to talk, like things that don't take as much brain power, I guess. I don't want to say I'm not using my brain right now, but you know what I mean? They don't take as much focus. I
Mhm.
like to place those things at a time when my energy is like mid-level or starting to dip. And then I place higher impact tasks at the time when my energy is highest. So and if you don't know how to measure your energy, I would just start taking note of it. I would actually audit your energy throughout the day, like literally get a sheet of paper and start auditing, like, this is when I felt most energetic. This is when my energy starts to dip. This is when I start to feel like mid energy. And there's also an app called Rise that I love that you can use that helps you track where your energy dips and peaks are throughout the day. And nowadays it's like the Aura Ring and the Ultra Human Ring and all the different wellness Apple Watches that can track those type of things. So these are really good hacks that people don't always think about, and they are often overlooked when it comes to your time management, because your wellness is directly tied into like how productive you're going to be.
Yeah, I love that. So, taking inventory of your energy, that means you
Mm-hmm.
have to be pausing and like checking in with yourself, lady. So that means we got to slow down a little bit or at least set some time aside to kind of check in with ourselves. And then I would want to know, if you're watching this live or the replay, when do you have your best energy? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Is it at night? Thinking about this for myself, I think I have the best energy in the morning, and then also like again at night once my kids go to sleep. For
Mm-hmm.
some reason, like I'll get another, like, oh, I can get a ton of stuff done because I know that like no one's coming to bother me and ask me for anything, and I feel like I have like a lot of time uninterrupted so that I can like get things done. But then it's kind of a trap because then you spend all night up doing stuff and then you wake up late and you're tired. So then it's kind of like of a little trap. So you got to kind of manage that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think I just want to add that was a really good point. I actually recently had a baby. So, and my son is 7 months, and my time management has completely transformed. Like, it is so different. And I noticed, just like you, I have my peak around like late morning, early afternoon. Typically, that's when he's like napping. And then my other peak tends to be at night, right after he goes to sleep. So, like you said, I do actually plan around those specific hours, and I notice I get more done in an hour or two at those peaks and those parts of the day than I do throughout the day when I'm trying to juggle him and do everything else. So you do kind of have to finagle based off your lifestyle too.
yeah. And so, what is your advice for someone who is procrastinating on getting a task done, whether it's like their health, wellness, their self care, a task at work? Because a lot of times I find with my clients, they will say, I don't have time. But then it's like when they do actually recognize that they have time, they're not getting over the resistance to take action. And it's like, no, it's not that you don't have the time. It's that when you do have the time, you don't activate, you don't execute. And then you really don't have any time. So what tips do you have for people who are procrastinating, distracting themselves, negotiating with themselves when it's time to take action?
So I always recommend first get clear on why you're procrastinating. There's usually some underlying belief or some underlying reason, whether it is you don't believe you can actually get the task done, so there's some self-doubt, maybe you're fearful of whatever it is, maybe you don't know how to do it, or maybe you just don't want to do it. Whatever the reason is, get clear on what the reason is, because you kind of have to rationalize yourself out of that reason. And I like to start there. Anytime I'm procrastinating on something, I don't beat myself up about it, because I think we all procrastinate on things, but we have to be able to overcome it. So it's not about never procrastinating, but it's about when I have these feelings or these thoughts that come up, how can I rationalize myself out of them? So I would ask myself, like, why am I procrastinating on this task? Do I know how to do it? Am I scared about the results? Am I trying to make it perfect? Do I not believe I can do it? Whatever it is, after you've known the reason, then you can kind of get yourself out of that by reaffirming yourself. Like, have you done hard things like this in the past? Is there someone you can ask to help you with this thing? why aren't you taking this action, and what resources can you use to help you to be able to take the action? Another quick way to kind of get yourself to take action is, I love using the 5-second rule. I swear by this. It's coined by Mel Robbins, and she literally just counts backwards from 5, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just takes action. She doesn't spend a lot of time thinking. A lot of times we need to step away from overthinking and all the things that are going on in our mind, and we need to just like remind ourselves to just act and do something really, really small. And one thing I'll tell myself, and I recommend it to my clients to do, is just say you're going to do whatever it is for 1 minute. You can do anything for a minute, like even a plank, right? Like a minute is nothing. So I would just recommend count down and then tell yourself, I'm just going to do this for a minute. And most of the time, after you've started and you try to do this thing for a minute, you're going to do it a little bit longer, and then you're going to keep going. So that's one way to make it easy to just get going. And then once you've gotten going, there's a lot of different methods you can use. Like you can try timing yourself and doing like the Pomodoro, which I like to do. And Sunsama makes it really easy to do this, but there's a lot of different Pomodoro timers you can look up. And what the Pomodoro is it sets a 20-minute timer, and you can work in 20-minute increments. So you set a timer, and it kind of gamifies it. It makes you want to like beat the clock, and you have the timer up. You start doing that thing, and you do it for 20 minutes. You focus on it, and then you take a break. A break is usually about 5 minutes, and then you go into another 20 minutes. So it helps to break it up, and it doesn't feel as daunting when you know you're just doing it for a set time. You know it's going to end, and you know you get a break, and a break is in sight. Those are some of my top tips around procrastination. I can kind of go on and on about this, but those are some that I like are my go-tos.
I love a timer. Okay. I love a timer. And they have this timer, which I have not bought yet, but it's on Amazon. It's like in a hexagon type of shape. And all you do is like flip it over, and it immediately starts the clock. So like, imagine like having that on your desk. And I don't know what it is about like starting the clock and like, okay, now your brain is just like, I'm focused. I'm about to post a podcast episode about deciding versus like wanting the goal or the thing. And sometimes when we, even in our verbiage, and I'm a coach, so I listen, right, to what my clients say. And when you are speaking about your intentions or your plans, and you hear a lot of hopefully, well, maybe, sometime, like all of those like questionable words where you actually haven't decided to execute the thing. It's kind of like you don't trust yourself to do it, and you're leaving room for maybe if I don't, and getting better at being more confident about deciding and then making it a decision, because we make rules for ourselves all the time that we don't have to follow, but we do. And I think one of the most powerful things that you can do is actually decide and stop like waffling on that.
Yeah, I actually have a podcast episode on committing as well, because it's what is holding people back, like commit, decide, and move forward. And I just wanted to quickly say that the thing that kind of helps people take action when it comes to the timer is Parkinson's law, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Like, oh no?
No.
Oh, well, Parkinson's law is essentially how much space something takes up is how much space it will take up. Meaning like how much time you give to something is how much time you're going to take. So if you keep putting things off, telling yourself, oh, I need 2 weeks, I need 3 weeks, I need 4 weeks, it'll take that much time. But if you tell yourself, I got 20 minutes to do this thing, all of a sudden you can do this thing in 20 minutes because you got yourself focused on getting that action done in that time frame. So that's kind of what drives people to get things done in a like set time frame.
Yes, I love that. Okay, cool. I did not know it had a name. I've heard of that, but didn't know it had a name. How do you recommend handling the mental load of consistently thinking about work, family, personal goals? Tell us more.
So I recommend having that space where you capture everything. So like the notebook that I was talking about, utilize that as your brain dump for all of the things that are coming up in your mind. I like to have mine set up as categories. So I'll have like my home life, and then I'll have things from my family, and then things for myself, and then things for like friends and family, like outside family. When I say family, I mean like my son and my husband. But then I also have my business stuff. So like marketing, sales, finance, admin, like I'll have the categories there, and I'll just write in all of the things that are on my mind. I literally keep this as a catch-all. So that way I'm not constantly overwhelmed and have all this anxiety and all these things on my mind. I let it out. There's something so amazing about writing things down because it feels like a release. And once you release those things, then your mind has more space and capacity to think of solutions instead of thinking of the problem so much. So I would have a capture tool, a place where you can at least get it all down. And then during your weekly planning meetings that you're going to start doing after you watch this, you refer back to that brain dump that you're doing and you start scheduling in when those things can happen. So I always like to think of all the things in your mind as puzzle pieces. And all you need to do is take all the puzzle pieces that's causing you stress and overwhelm and figure out how to put the puzzle together, meaning how to fit them into your schedule. And of course, if you don't know how to do something, you need to just figure out how to make it easy and make it step by step by step instead of thinking about the whole staircase, which is where people go wrong with goals. But take those things that are constantly in your mind and learn how to capture them and then place them and schedule them so that you know when they're going to get done. I think that's like the simplest way that you can take from this episode, start managing your personal life, your work life, and do it in a more peaceful and confident manner.
Yes, I love that. All right,
Thanks.
thanks, Sade. I'm so excited to have you back. Sade has been, I think I've interviewed you here in the Facebook group before, but also you've been inside of the Fit Figure Formula group as well, helping my ladies with their time management. How can people reach you, and where can they reach you, and how can they work with you?
Yes. So yes, I have been. I just realized I have been in the group and I've been on this too. So I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me. You can find me at Sade Kelly _ everywhere. I have a podcast called The Fire Inside. That's on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, X, all of the Threads, all of the things. And then my website is thefireinsidesade.com. And if you are interested in working together, you can go ahead and book a time audit call, which are free calls where I audit your time for you, pinpoint out the problems that you're having, why you aren't managing your time the way you'd like, and show you how to close the gap between where you're at and where you'd like to be. And then if one of my services makes sense for you, we talk through whether you should join my membership, book a call, like as in a coaching session, or if my coaching program, which is my Overwhelmed to Organize program, makes sense for you. And you can see all of that on my site or shoot me a DM and I'm happy to chat about it.
Cool, y'all. If you are on Facebook, I will drop her links in the chat so you guys can connect. Make sure you're following her. Visit her website and hit her up if you are looking to manage your time. Of course, y'all, if you're watching and you need help with your fitness, your mindset, your health, you want to lower your A1C, you want to lose weight and get organized as well with your health, you can join the Fit Figure Formula. So I would love to talk to you more about helping you get fit and get healthy. So again, Sade, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks, Stephanie. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Fit Figure Formula podcast. If you're new here and you're struggling with your fitness journey, I invite you to take a super simple next step. Click the link in the show notes for a free training. If listening to this podcast has been helpful, imagine being inside the Formula Coaching Program. You can apply for coaching with the link in the show notes. I hope to see you inside.